This meeting was appropriately advertised by notifying the Central Record on March 7th, 2024, and the Courier Post on March 5th, 2024, as well as posting notices in Borough Hall and in all Lindenwood Public Schools and on our website at www.lindenwood.k12.mj.us. Whatever, but please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag in the corner. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Kendall Gregg. David Smith. Here. Josh Kirschman.
Here.
Very nice. Kevin McGahey.
Present.
Daniel O'Rourke. Courtney Richardson. Lauren Wildan.
Here.
Joanna Engels. Here. And Kathy Monk.
I'm here. I'd like to ask for a motion to open the meeting to the public, please.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Would anyone like to address the board at this time? Okay. I take that as a no, so I can have a motion to close, please.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Okay, so that takes us to our reason for being here this evening, and we have our safety and security presentation, and I'll turn this over to Christian. You want to do this?
Hello, everyone. We have been talking about safety and security for quite some time. For the last 2 years, actually, we've talked about a lot of different systems that we could use, practices that we have in the district. We've talked about things such as metal detectors, and of course, with that, it's always best to hear from someone who is an expert. So I did share with you our safety and security consultant bio, which doesn't get more prestigious than his. He actually is from this area, meaning from New York area, and actually resides in Bangkok. We were talking about that a little bit today, so it's nice that he's on the East Coast and was able to make some time for us. This is just an overview session, just an opportunity to listen, to learn, to have the board have an opportunity to ask questions. I know there's been several questions that you all have posed as we talk about certain issues. So with that, our consultant has asked to do his own intro, so I'm going to turn it over to him.
Thank you all very much. I will give you an option of listening to me through this microphone, or I can project my voice this way. You pick.
Can you hear out the public? It's all the public.
You're good? Because I'll be moving around a bit. Is that all right? Thank you. So, it's a distinct privilege to be here. My name is Ilya Omasi, and one thing that I will share with you right away is that these projects that we do as consultants are some of the most meaningful ones. Why? Because I'm also a parent. Okay? I have 2 kids. One is in college, another one is in middle school. Right? And I am very grateful that you invest your time, and to our public as well, that you invest your time to look into these matters and to collectively make informed decisions about how to take your security and safety forward. This is not going to be a lecture of any sort. This is not something that I will need to impart on you, but I need to make you feel that you're a little bit more informed. If that's what I achieved tonight, fantastic. I'm very happy with that. So, the reason why you're here, and the fact that you're here, is the fact that you care. Right? So you came here donating your time, showing you courses to listen to me. I will try not to ramble on for too long. Right? My time is finite, but I really appreciate that too. So, my family's photo is coming up on that slide. You can see that my son recently moved on to college. He graduated. My daughter is 14. My wife, God bless her, tolerates me for now more than 22 years. And she also happens to be one of the most well-educated practitioners in education. She's a psychologist with experience both here in the U.S. and overseas. so we have been spending our time both in the States and in Asia for now the last 13 years. I am not here to give you the same old perspective. I want that to sink in. I'm not here to give you the same old perspective. What I will share with you is supposed to make you think. It's supposed to make you reflect on what goes on in your school district and what goes on around your kids, what aspirations you have, and then compare and contrast. So if you walk away from this being more informed, fantastic. However, the trick is that I'm not going to be the only one sharing who I am. I don't know who you are, so I'll start. 22 years in the industry. I started in Newark, New Jersey, in the corporate headquarters of Prudential Financial, under the tutelage of my mentors who plucked me from the John Jay College of Criminal Justice, where I was finishing up a master's degree. I wanted to go to law school, that I read a book called Civil Action, and it completely dissuaded me. I was lost, like a little lamb, and my mentor got me out of John Jay, simply because I paid somebody to make my resume look better. That was the smartest thing I now reflect on that I could have done as a yet to graduate college student. So then from there on, 6 years of in-house corporate work across the world. So I was a member of the Global Security Department. We designed all sorts of security systems. However, I joined in 2000. In 2001, we all know what happened. And every single government agency descended onto our headquarters at that point, in September of 2001. So in the course of the next 5 years, yours truly has done work that typically takes other practitioners about 20 years to complete. The reason is not because I was aspiring to do a short-term course, but it's because of the circumstances, right? So that then took me to the consulting world. I spent 11 years at Kroll. Kroll is a major global security consultancy and investigation firm. I walked into the Kroll's office in Morristown, New Jersey, where I started my journey there. First thing that my boss tells me, oh, by the way, there's this UN project you're going to be doing. I took 2 steps back. I said, what are you talking about? This was never on the job description. So he tells me, oh, we're renovating, we're designing all security systems for the UN headquarters in New York City on 1st and 42nd. So then he tells me, okay, well, you're going to take over the project in 6 months. If I didn't have a team like yours, of engineers and other people that have already been working on that project, I would not be staying. Simply because I had my mentors, I had people who empowered me, enabled me, and taught me, right? And I parked my ego at the door. I learned everything there is to know about how to actually facilitate this project. But for the next 6 years, I was in charge of that project for Kroll, working with probably about 7 or 8 architectural firms, several engineering firms, and several consultants who were looking after us to make sure that somebody does peer review, to make sure we don't make mistakes. So that's just a little bit of that experience with the UN. As part of that journey, I also designed systems for Fenimore Hall, which is the Borough Manhattan Community College. So that's their facility in Manhattan. I've designed security systems for federal and state courts, U.S. Coast Guard, and various international locations. One of them being the City University of Kuwait in Sharjah. That was a very small campus, probably around 100 buildings. We had contracts for several of those facilities. And so I come to you, not just with the U.S. experience, but I come to you with experience that I was very privileged to have over the course of my career. There was multiple countries, multiple jurisdictions, all sorts of projects, one thing that I've been doing quite a bit of is designing and advising clients on implementation of electronic, physical, and operational security controls. That's what I did when I started. That's what I continue to grow. This is what I just did. However, like I said, the trick is that I can't just introduce myself. I'd like to have the opportunity to share with me just literally 30 seconds what is your back. I'd like to know that so that I can reflect better on how I deliver this, right? Why don't we start with John?
My name is Joanne Engels. I am been on the board since 2017. My professional background had me working in consulting with Korn Ferry Hay Group for 25 years. I was let go, reduction in force in November, and now I'm back to school for teaching.
Into purchasing for governmental agencies for 30 years. In between, in 95, 96, just a little bit of 97, I was working at the airport at our checkpoint securities for different terminals. So I got to supervise those. So the technology that was used then, I can't imagine what it is today because it evolved while I was there.
My name is Kathy Moncrief. I've been on the board for somewhere over 30 years. Primarily, I'm an educator. I've spent over 50 years teaching at various levels, university, high school, administrative, many aspects in education. I've also traveled extensively, and I've actually seen a lot of various kind of security throughout the world, and I'm very interested. My main goal is to make these facilities as safe and secure as possible for our kids and our staff. That's something that worries me constantly.
Okay, I'll go next. I am obviously the superintendent. I've been administrator for 23 years, about, maybe more, and superintendent for 9 years. I'm also certified as a school district safety specialist.
My name is Lauren. I am a first-year Spanish teacher in an elementary school, and this is my first year on the board.
I'm a retired speech language pathologist, and I also do a lot of traveling. And I've been on the board for 26 plus years.
Alethea Gibbs Smith, retired educator of 35 years in inner city school, serving as department chairperson and teaching in the community and homework center. Various things that all have to do with leading children, mother, grandmother, proud Lindenwold School Board member.
Well, thank you all very much for these introductions. I think we just
My name is Kathleen Peter. I'm the business administrator. I've been in the Lindenwold School District for 17 years now, and I've been the business administrator for about 14. And I'm involved in all the operations of the district, and safety and security is certainly a priority for all of us.
thank you very much. Again, welcome for our parent community. I hope this will be of use to you as well, and we'll have, I suppose, up to your discretion, your questions and answers, whatever. We'll work this out, right? So, let's see. As is typical in school environments, right? We consultants also talk about rules of engagement, okay? And I'll give you a couple of caveats as I get through the rest of the presentation. However, I always encourage note-taking. I always encourage that we are here to share our perspectives. So you will hear my perspective, and I welcome for you to share yours as well. I love the TED Lasso play, which I don't know if you watched. Be curious, not judgmental, okay? I have to get out of that point. My first few years in role, a lot of judgment. So I had to learn not to be judgmental, how to listen to everybody and to try to learn all have our own journeys, and so I'd rather be curious about it. And this is something that I learned from the head of the school where my kids went. I was a parent, I came to a meeting, we were discussing all sorts of academic things, and the first thing he does, and that was my first meeting with the head of school, he shakes my hand and we start sharing a couple of things, and he tells me, well, we operate under the assume positive intent logic. I didn't hear those words before in that context, and it struck me. So to this day, I tell my kids the same thing. I always operate in the same fashion, no matter the time. Okay, and that's how we try to carry this. We're going to be talking about 4 things. It's not possible for me to talk to you about technology without taking a more macro view about where we are with school security in the U.S., give you some perspective, and then try to land a little bit closer to the more related topics to specific to our school district and so on. We will talk about deployment of security technologies, we will talk about screening technologies in particular, and this is my doing. Please forgive me in advance. I will share with you what I see as the roadmap for school security. It doesn't necessarily apply only to Liverpool. This is something that I will show you that not just is my own thing, but I also, as I said, I try to be as curious as possible, so I listen to other experts who talk about school security in the U.S. and beyond. Okay? So I'll demonstrate to you the roadmap and take from it what you will, reflect on it is what I ask of you, and please ask questions. Let's see. Okay. If I wanted to share with you everything there is about the state of security in the United States, you would be renting hotel rooms nearby, we would be here for more than a week, and we still would not be done, because there's so much to unravel, there's so much to discuss, right? My job is to give you a consultant snapshot. So please understand, I come from an experience where I've been observing the gaps, the friction, the overconfidence within such a term. Okay? Where I've been observing how integrators, manufacturers of technologies are colluding to make profit versus getting the right results for their clients. And so those are the things that I try to evaluate here. There are challenges, but you all know that there are challenges. I just want to take you through some of them so you understand. First and foremost, there is no national cohesion on school security. Even if I ask security practitioners to tell me what is risk, every single one of them will give you a different definition. If I ask them to define security, every single one of them will give me a different definition. We, as practitioners, are not alike. I'm sorry about that. And I'm also sorry that we as parents continue to seek answers. And unfortunately, those answers become clouded when the next incident happens. Then everybody pauses. I don't know for how long. For some of us, life goes on, and for some of us, it may not. If you haven't heard the word security theater, I did not come up with that phrase. Look up Bruce Schneier. And Bruce Schneier is one of the most respected security practitioners in America. Okay? Bruce Schneier said those things when I was still a student in my bachelor's program in John Jay. That was many, many years ago. And this phrase somehow continues to resonate, both in my industry, among my peers, but also among those who who are sitting on the boards just like yours, right? And who can reflect on what actually is on, who pay attention. Security theater can be defined very simply. There is a way to go to Google Earth, and I can give you an address. It will pull up street view photo, where there's an entrance to an educational facility, and there's a security officer. It's right from the Google Earth image. That security officer is wearing earphones, and that security officer also has his head tilted down and looking at his smartphone. What is the expectation? Who gave that security officer an edict to act for security and safety of that organization? Is he doing a good job? Who's making assumptions? Who's monitoring? So, my experience has been trust but verify. Sorry. I love you guys. This is great. Security, fantastic. You sell the service to me. I have to verify that the service fits my needs. But unfortunately, in the United States, this has not been consistent. And the reason that it hasn't been consistent, or the result of this inconsistency, is very evident. Look at the Uvalde school shooting report. I don't need to take it any further than that. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend that you do. It's heartbreaking, but I recommend that you take every word that's written there very close to heart, because that can also help inform your choices going forward. There are multiple disconnects. In one state, the rules say one thing. In another state, the rules say something else. Yes, like I said before, everybody tries to assume and deliver positive intent. That's not just enough. That's not enough. One school that you are aware of has a competently run security program. How do you define a competently run security program? Does it need people? Does it need practitioners? Right? I just saw not so long ago a head of security department at a Texas school district, right? Moved from his position, and that position has never been replaced. So what does that mean? Who's making those decisions when that professional position is not set? Would I expect that each one of you or any other board member understands how to design security controls? Am I being overconfident? So, unfortunately, we also have the vultures and the ambulance chasers. Those are the folks that will come to you and they will say, I have this amazing bells and whistles system. Look at the blinking lights. Look how great it delivers. Look, you see, it gives me this thing and it helps assure security. Look at how great my visual presentation is. Right? And by way of their credibility, they cite the book. Other school districts have bought this system from us. But in security, my peers, they have been very well desensitized to when the client tells them, yeah, but look, the other school district does. So we should do what they do. That's like the worst thing you could possibly do. Because unfortunately, my question to you earlier is, do you know of competently run security programs in school districts? The heartbreaking answer is that there aren't any. Why? Because, unfortunately, the federal government does not provide that framework. States try to provide that framework, but it's not really infused in security district much. It's not infused in budgets, and it's not infused in consistency, if you will. That consistency is not assured. So then the question is, okay, who's responsible? Who are we pointing the finger at when we're having a challenging situation, challenging event, Should I be asking teachers to be security practitioners? Should I be asking someone else? I mean, there is an SRO, of course. But let's talk about the strategic thinking. Does SRO require strategic thinking? Is that their job? Not as far as I'm concerned. It does. Something for you to reflect on. And unfortunately, that I can give you an example from my own life, I'm subject to a lot of noise. A lot of lights noise. So just a few hours earlier, my son was texting me. I was in the middle of writing a report. He texts me, says, Dad, I need to visit the doctor. Right? Okay, so your security practitioner puts the consulting work aside for a few minutes, and he has to go deal with the child's request. Live story. Right? How am I making my decisions? Am I consistent? If I get interrupted. Nothing about parents, though. Think about the board member's job. How much noise do you have? Okay? Having dealt with a lot of learning facilitators and administrators, I can tell you that I've spent my, 3 years on the facilities committee, where the head of school had to participate, and you don't understand how lit up their screen was with all sorts of other things while they were trying to attend to facilities concerns. And they have to go and sit on the finance committee meeting, facilities meeting, and everything else in between. And all of a sudden, somebody said, oh my God, we're late by a couple of days for our lockdown drill. So I'm switching my hat and I'm moving to another one. The best examples of that are presented not in security. The best examples are written in a book that's called Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. He's a Nobel laureate in behavioral psychology. He coined or defined biases and mental or cognitive heuristics. Okay? So if you think that you're a good decision maker 24 hours a day, that's not true. Think about how you drive. You have a phone going, will you use it? And you're still able to keep your eyes on the road. Why? Because you have enough experience and muscle memory and mental memory to operate the unit. So all of that life noise is distracting. So I brought up the Uvalde report. Who has read it? Any hands? Who's read the Uvalde shooting report? Anybody? Life's noise. It's not that I'm here to blame you. That's the farthest thing from reality. It's because you are inundated with the rest of your life. Plus you don't live in Texas. However, there's always a silver lining. Over the years, as my kids were attending school, I've learned to appreciate the work of carrying the way. Who can tell me what is her life's work? So Ms. Dweck has written, which she's done a lot of studies, it's all science informed, I think. She's done a lot of studies about how to facilitate learning for young kids and kids in middle school and so on. And by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, mistakes, okay? And she has spent her life's work, her energy on helping parents, helping educators get past the biases that they have for children. That's why the first item here is our learners. They are probably one of the biggest bright spots that we have. They are the community that are aspiring. We can see their aspiration, despite the challenge. right? So that's why in the school that my kids went to, the IEPs or individual education plans, or ILPs, you might know them, individual learning plans, had a concept of not yet. Not that they're failing, but there was always this approach that we respect you, we hear who you are, we understand your challenges, we know that you will be successful, but you're not successful yet in all of the standards that we try to apply to you. Positive mindset. And our kids have it. They do. Why do you think they show up in school every day? That's not just because they have to, because their parents don't take it. There is a significant aspiration to learn, especially under care of good teachers. And I tip my hat off to everybody who's been a teacher ever. So some of you have been. Thank you kindly for having worked with our kids and having inspired the next generation. That leads me to my next bullet. People like results. And also that applies to those who are visiting today from the community. Okay? If you don't care, why do you think I started my presentation saying thank you for caring? Right? You can make a choice not to be here. No problem. But there's a lot of community members, more so now than before. Because unfortunately within I don't know what happened to the screen.
Just touch it.
All right. Sorry.
There you go.
Right, so it's people who care, who bring their hearts and minds to help the school, to help the kids, regardless of their age group, to do better, right? So I've been witness to pretty terrible parent-teacher organizations. I've been witness to very good parent-teacher organizations. I've been a member of one, okay? And so it's those folks that actually care that help make change in the school environment. As I said, tipping my hat off to any teacher who works in the school setting or any learning facilitator, right? The way children develop their value systems and so on is not just dependent on us parents. I have to admit it. And I learned it through a program that's called Active Parent. I'll go into that a little bit later, but again, the bright spots, and you'll see why I'm saying all this. The bright spots are actually people, the children, the learning facilitators, who can come together, who can facilitate the positive experience in a school setting. We can't forget that our law enforcement also deserves a huge credit. Why do I say that? First of all, I used to teach cops when they were transitioning from law enforcement from their first career to the private sector. We're old enough, many of them wanted to go into private security. Okay, so I used to teach a master's degree program where there were at Chanjay, my alma mater, law enforcement who were at the end of their 20 years, and they were getting into the private sector. And boy, did they have a lot of spirit. Okay? And so I tell you that there are multiple assessments of how certain incidents, both in school environments and in other situations, have been assessed where we, the public, we completely misunderstand the job of law enforcement and how they carry themselves during those incidents. Completely misunderstand. Right? So, do they get great training in police academies? Also inconsistent. Do they understand every policy and procedure in the book when they go and they do beat? Of course not. Because that's not how the brains are wired. But do they, by and large, have the right heart and mind for protecting citizens? By and large, yes. Doesn't mean that there are no bad apples. But by and large, they have the right mindset. The problem is that nobody teaches them about school security. Nobody makes them walk through school buildings frequently. So so that they don't forget how opening will be in their particular district will be laid out. There is no muscle memory, or at least very minimal muscle memory. So it's not their doing, if you will, but they sometimes fail. Right? In most cases, the aspiration is there, the spirit is there. There would be lack of training, and lack of understanding. And another bright spot is the tool and resources. So I just named a few things. I mentioned Carol Weck, I mentioned David Conroy, I mentioned a few other things. And also, of course, of the presentation, I'll get into a few other resources. The resources are there, but collectively, do you have the time and bandwidth to actually look for those additional resources so that you can implement change? And that's a question I can't answer. But I assure you, as a security practitioner, that the tools and resources are there. Unfortunately, they're not well organized, state to state or federally. Unfortunately, this doesn't exist. But that's where consultants come in, and that's where if you have in-house your own committed team, or at least a couple of people, they can bring a lot of additional knowledge and understanding to everything. So, just to give you a glimpse of regulatory content, where we are as far as what's going on at the government level, federal, state, you have federal guidance and financial backing available to school districts across the country to each state, right? So the money flows from federal government down to state. How the states dispense that money different state to state, because then you get programs, different types of activities, projects, and what have you. And each state, needless to say, will have their own needs. Right? In some states, it would be we have a lot of schools that are lacking, that the performance, the student performance is not good. So we need to up our game. Other districts, they have lack of resources. Maybe the facilities are not well maintained, and they're properly made to Some other states will not have enough access to competent SROs. Right? Some other states will have all sorts of other needs. And so, how do you think they spend their money? Inconsistently. So then, we have state rules, we have district management. Then we have, again, like I said, lack of consistency. And one thing that I noticed time and again, a lot of assumptions. Like I said before, people assume that we can implement security technology and it's going to work perfectly well. I am here to tell you that if I work with security personnel at any organization, no matter the size of the team, they tell me, oh, we have great video surveillance systems. Right? And I walk into their control room and I ask them, okay, show me your great security video surveillance system. And they can barely demonstrate about 30% of the system's features. And on top of that, I'm sure you've seen those things yourselves. How many video surveillance views will each of the big monitors have? Typically 16, 9, whatever. Well, the human attention is only not or no more than two video views. Then you can start doing the math. Do we have enough security officers to isolate proactive? Or all of this is completely retroactive. Assumptions. Those assumptions is what good security consultants try to unravel. They ask a lot of questions. Sometimes they're confrontational. Right? But we have to know where they're making those assumptions. Our main job is to eliminate assumptions. And another thing that will unfortunately complain in the States is that we have the perspective of statistics, the quantitative perspective. Then we have the qualitative perspective. A shooting occurs anytime in USA. There are two things that are happening in Paris. One, some voices start saying, Yes, but if you look at the entire statistics around the country, the number of shootings is actually not as significant as other types of crime. And here I am as a parent, sitting there and saying, I don't care about your statistics. My heart is broken. And it's not only in cases where your child was affected. So when I was reading the Monthly report, one specific section stood out to me. Section 4. What did that section talk about? It talked about how that student, the perpetrator, was neglected for about 10 to 12 years of his early life before he turned into the sour, I don't know, just a very miserable human being. But he wasn't that way before. There was neglect. And that section very carefully articulates how that neglect year after year contributed to that person's development. So, we didn't look at statistics, and I'll show you some statistics, right? But it's not just about statistics. In the States, one thing that's very evident is that the kids already are starting to march. Do we want to? Is that what we do? Is that what we expect? That our children, teenagers, who are still going to school, are taking time away from the school environment for being taught how to be a good adult in the future, knowledge and everything, how to be successful. They take that away and they go to march to make a point that security in school needs to be done. Not what we want to do. That's not what we want. New Jersey itself. This is the New Jersey state model. Where do you see here any indication of that says students need to march for school security? Does this model say that? Does it incentivize teenagers to go and march? Is that included in the mantra? No. Not at all. This is where, again, statistics can only take us this far. If more and more community members continue to have broken hearts, if more and more school children continue to have trauma, statistics go out the window. But I love this one. I was very impressed by it, I have to say. I was impressed by it because of the yellow sections around the blue circle. That it takes into consideration communities involved. Now, this is where the school management failed in terms of community involvement. Why? Because to them, all that was important was organizing fun activities for kids through the Parent-Teacher Association, having some interaction with the learning facilitators and school admins. But no one engaged in discussions that were serious. How do you deal with trauma in a child's mind? What do you do? It's going to take 3 months to get out of that spiral? Or is it going to take the rest of their life? What does it look like? What kind of help exists? So the model here, it does provide a lot of strategic guidance. Now, remember I mentioned the word assumptions to you? Lots of assumptions. So, if you can reflect on how each school district in New Jersey does in terms of following this, I'm sure you will immediately recognize that they're not consistent. There's no consistency. So when my clients ask, okay, so how do we follow some national standards, national programs? There are none. I'm sorry to say. It's going to be district to district, team to team, community to community. Now, I promised you statistics, here are the statistics. I took the source from probably the most frequently cited database of school shootings in the United States. Not my work. I'm referring to the work of Mr. David Reedman, who runs this database. He has been interviewed now in the last several years with the escalating frequency, just the same way as you see the statistics in front of you. Right? That's that red area at the right hand of the statistical graph, right? That's not good news. It's not good news at all. Is this good news? We can't think in terms of when the Department of Education will set it. Not possible, not going to happen. We can't think in terms of when the state authorities will pay attention. As much as they're trying to, they don't have the scale. So, it really depends on the community application. This is New Jersey, southern New Jersey. Those red dots in the red square are from, I believe, 2019 to 2023. Now, David Reedman only monitors certain qualified incidents. Okay? Not all of the incidents are qualified by police, by law enforcement, right, are included in the data. It's very close. And this I welcome for you to take a moment while I get some water. Please have a moment to read it. We're dealing with this complexity. These are very, very complex systems. You can't blame verdict facilitators, you can't blame school boards, you can't blame anybody. But everybody gets blamed. Everybody. Why? Lies, noise. We don't have the focus to deal with this. We forget very quickly. Why? Social media. The scale and speed with which we absorb new information today is not something that humans are capable of handling. If you look, and this is a news resource for you, but I don't know if you've heard of that organization, the Center for Humane Technology. A former Google executive who created the attention-grabbing mechanism, the algorithms for YouTube, realized at one point he's doing evil work. Because he made those algorithms capture somebody's attention so much, but he himself said, I don't know that this is ethical. So he founded the Center for Humane Technology. His name is Tristan Harris. And so, unfortunately, the culmination of this macro view is that there is no blanket federal program that states are inconsistent. School districts, even if they can collaborate and cooperate, don't do things exactly the same way because they might not be as well in resourced. So here, in the school district right here, it's already up. You're down to your own resources and tools and dealing with and collaborating at the local level. That's the best we can do. On that note, I'm sorry. It's gloomy. Let's say it. 5 minutes, is that right? So obviously, I'm not here to only talk to you about the Microsoft. Okay, that would be a disservice. Because I've spent a lot of years designing more of these systems, video surveillance, access control, 3D detection, and communication systems, I do have some things to share with you. Some of them will be specific to students, but this is what we typically would expect as far as technology is concerned in a school setting. Okay, I'm sure you can look around and you'll see several video surveillance cameras here. Right? On the front door of the school and various others, you will see it's access control. You have to present your credential and we'll let you in. Or there will be a video intercom. You have to press a button. Somebody can see you before they can make it into the school premises. By the way, it was very disappointing as a parent because my kids used to go to a school district in New York. When the schools at that time, they chose to start locking doors. That was tough to swallow, I have to say. My kids asked me, what are they doing? Why are they, why the door locked? Why can't you come in? All of that. Not much I could tell them. So, I am fairly certain you have seen all, for some of these technologies we presented to you, discussed, each social solution. They have, each of them, their very positive applications. I will not be negative about any of these technologies. The problem, assumption, with video surveillance, who's watching the cameras? And how are they recorded? And is the video footage that's sent from the camera to the recorder, is it consistent? Is it good quality? Or some of the cameras, and nobody was any wiser, are not sending that signal at all. They're not recording whatsoever. That breeds liability. That's another word that consultants use quite often, liability. You promise to your constituency that you have good security systems, that they all work as designed and as implemented. Well, what if they don't? What if I, as a consultant, come to you and point fingers and say, this new system has some limitations, you didn't implement it in the way that you should have. That one is legacy, so that's not modern enough, shouldn't be deployed, and so on and so forth. I have a school in the Bronx that came to me and they said, Lily, you've been helping us get federal grants because they're a nonprofit club. So they get federal grants for improving security against hate crimes and terrorism. Okay. And they said, we've been applying for these religiously, it's been great, we've been doing a good job. But we feel like those assessments that you do, they're limited. I'm like, yeah, of course they are. Because it's all geared toward passing the muster with the granting agency. So the money is given only for specific things. So they said, well, we need a comprehensive security assessment. I said, oh, really? Are you ready for a comprehensive security assessment? They said, what do you mean? I said, do you have a threat management team? Their answer was, get this, what is that? Then I started asking more questions. I said, do you have legal counsel? Why? Why do you need legal counsel? I said, because everything I will find has already been proven to be highly contentious in a public setting. That school would need to share their findings or reports with the parent community. This already happened, it's been reported multiple times. Here, who got wind of security reports, right? They started asking questions, well, okay, who did it? How was it done? What are the findings? And what are you going to do about it? You were telling me, as a parent, that we have no security in place. And this consultant found that not to be so. Liability. So, everything here, it works. No issue. Like, if you set it up correctly, and if you have the right resources in place for those systems to work, it will work, with rare exceptions. And systems are not perfect, so you have to give a little bit of a percentage that they will not perform at optimal levels at all times. It's understandable. But it works. But then you have to ask yourself, do you have the resources in place to manage it? This is sophisticated stuff. No joke. It has to be set up properly, it has to be maintained properly, it has to be monitored. If that's what you promise. So your conversation with the community will have to be informed by how you're going to use those systems. We're going to jump into magnetometers, multi-sensory detection systems, and video analytics, because that's exactly what today is being offered to the school environment. Okay. Top left and top right are the main manufacturers of these technologies. If somebody tells you that they have some other product, be very, very careful. Because these four companies, they have been proven global. That makes a huge difference in terms of local dealership networks, in terms of past project experience, in terms of calibration capability, in terms of engineering capability, and how they continue to do research and development. All of that matters. You wouldn't buy a no-name laptop, would you? You're on Dell. I'm using Lenovo. Okay, but if I told you it's Uncle Joe's laptop, would you buy one? For real. Right? So it's the same in security technology. A lot of folks misunderstand that in our industry, we also have very serious brand names and sort of mid-range brand names and everybody else. And unfortunately, the percentage of everybody else is staggering. I'm sure you've seen that with COVID. During the pandemic, I've been touched with an organization that does a lot of testing. Actually, I was work with them. They're called IBM. They have an independent lab that tests all sorts of security stuff. And they were the first ones to jump on the volume of testing that was offered to all sorts of environments to measure fever, to measure all sorts of COVID-related mask wearing and all that stuff, right? Or the distance limitations, like you know how you need to keep distance from one person to another in order to work, right? So I get with one company that's an American brand that says we're selling fever monitoring equipment to atomic lines across the United States. And I looked at their product and I'm like, wait, I've seen this somewhere before. Because I also have experience working in Asia, I'm like, this is Chinese. It has to be Chinese. So I looked up. Made by some no-name company in Shenzhen, in China. So what did that company do? They bought a product, and they told the Chinese manufacturer, put my label on that product. I'll make it my own. I'm not going to disclose where it's made, or that you make mom and pop shop. Because I have the client relationships, and I think I have the trust to be able to make those sales. And guess what? That company was not in COVID monitoring or safety business whatsoever. They were an IT integrator. They sell servers and they sell all sorts of things. They found an opportunity to make a buck. Nobody was any more aware of this until I mentioned something on LinkedIn, Then the IPPM guy is letting know the outreach, the owner of the farm, takes it up, says, "Can you tell me the name?" I'm like, "Yeah, these guys." And then he goes and blasts it out. Right? I was able to help direct a few of my clients to avoid purchasing of them. So, your metal detector. It's a proven technology. It's been used for years in government agencies, in the private sector, in airports, and schools, and so on and so forth. It has its own limitations. I can pass through one of these things with a ceramic knife. How about it? Not all of these can pick up a certain type of weapon. These reflective numbers. Not all of these can pick up certain types of weapons. So, I have difficulty trusting any salesperson who tells me, you get $90, you get control of anyone who brings weapons into the street. That's not an accurate statement. They should always carry a sign with a huge asterisk every time they do a sales pitch. Because that's, and I'll show you, that's not true. So here are the challenges and requirements related to placement of magnetometers in any environment, including schools. Quality of installation. Let's take Garrett Metal Detectors. Worldwide known company. They've been in business for a long time. You think Garrett is the company that's going to install your stuff? No. There's going to be local Acme electrician or another company that does the installation. They have a permission from Garrett to install that equipment. They're a dealer. The attrition rate among security integration partners is about 50%. So they go through technicians like there's no tomorrow. Quality. Okay? Assumptions made as well. Calibration. Like I said, if you don't calibrate it right, like I went to a mall not so long ago, and they have metal detectors, and yes, they say yes, they work. So you walk through, there's only one way to go through. You go through metal detector. And it beats, even if I'm carrying all the metal and everything, nobody checks me. So, what's the difference? Training. How much is a security officer paid in the state of New Jersey? Give me a number, give me any estimate. Okay, let's say at the high rate, right, $20 an hour. Let's say $40 an hour. I'll give you 50. Okay? After the taxes, the home take pay is how much? Assumptions. Do these people really care about how well trained they need to be to operate this machine? No, they come to work. They need their breadwinners. First and foremost, they need to put food on their family's table. That's number one. And the security companies, and I've run security costs, I've done G4S, I've done Prudential. We used to run half of your police department because we have 10,000 employees and multiple buildings in Newark. And Newark is not one of those La La Land cities where you just feel safe everywhere you go. I'm sure you know that. So we paid very close attention when we did bids with security providers, security guard providers. We asked them, what is the home take pay for security officers? Oh, you could ask that question. I'm like, yeah, man, why not? My concern is I don't want attrition. I don't want to have to retrain new cadre every couple of months because they don't stay at the job. I want them to be loyal. I want them to be committed. And I want them to be trainable. So, that's the challenge. Procedures. When there is a rifle in school, how many people are we getting in? What's the total head count for high school? 800. 800
Students, children.
Then there's faculty. Okay? And then there's all sorts of other administrative folks and also contractors, you know, it gets busy, right? So how well are the procedures designed to manage an interruption? I got through on the contract. I get through the middle, and I can beat. Behind me, 40 people who need to get in. I'm standing there, and I'm like, whoa, baby, my stuff wet. I need to empty my pockets. They're like, oh my God, you know, you're delaying everybody else. And yeah, that's how it is. That's the same way in the airport. Right? So I've delayed 40 people. And all of a sudden, everybody hears a ring. The bell is ringing. The school day runs. I don't know if you do school days, but I'm assuming you do, right? So the school day is about to start. So those 40 are still standing there while I'm emptying my pockets, going around with my stuff to be able to get through this. What is the procedure for a security officer to process this problem? I don't know. I don't know how it would work in good. Placement. So, and I was going to ask for volunteers, but I don't want to impose on anybody. So, here is my magnetometer. Here is my door over here. So I have what? 6 feet, right? In security, there is such a concept as time. The time it takes me to hurt the person 6 feet away from me, it's like this. Stop. It's momentary. Right? For me to clear that distance is nothing. So that has to be taken into account. The placement of a magnetometer, when I know that there's a bunch of people standing behind me. And if you encounter the threat, what's the nature of the environment around that threat? I don't know if you would consider something like this, but there are X-ray machines that are offered to schools as well. It's all part of screening, right? The throughput on the magnetometer, if you're okay, if you did empty your pockets and you did everything that you possibly could, about 15 seconds. With the X-ray machine, you multiply that by 3, 45 seconds. Now multiply that by 300 seconds. How would you?
Frustrated.
Yes. Yes. And I completely agree with that because you're thinking with the client's mind. You're saying, I want my school day to start, I want it to be uninterrupted, I want the learning facilitation and any other activities on school campus to continue without any friction. And here I am, Gilio Mansky, consultant, who says, yeah, you need to buy magnetometers, X-ray machines, no other bells and whistles that reduce your throughput. Who does those calculations? Even some engineering firms that I've been working with, they can't figure it out. People who are supposed to be professional, quantifiers. Now, I hope it works. You need to see this.
It is a quicker trip through security at PNC Park and Kennywood these days. Scanning for weapons is faster thanks to new technology now being used there and at several other venues and schools across the country.
But as KDKA investigator Nancy reports, these new sensors are far from foolproof, raising concerns about undetected weapons and whether the public should feel safe.
Let's go, Bucks! Let's go! Pirate fans are less likely to miss the first pitch these days, thanks to a new security scanning system that no longer requires them to surrender their cell phones and keys. As developers say, they've eliminated the delays and hassles of going through a traditional metal detector.
New modern technology, advanced sensors, and AI technology to make security screening much easier, much faster, much more frictionless, and much more effective.
PNC, Acura Stadium, and Kennywood Park are some of the latest venues to embrace Evolve, a sophisticated system designed to detect guns and knives while identifying other metal items as benign. But as one customer found, the system doesn't catch them all.
You believe this system just doesn't work? I believe the system doesn't work. It's not deterrent.
After the Utica City School District in upstate New York purchased its Evolve system, Acting Superintendent Brian Nolan said
and it didn't detect it.
So the district is out over $3 million.
3.7 million is what the investment was.
Despite this failure, school districts and sporting venues have been adopting Evolve as a go-to security system, allowing large numbers of people to be scanned without emptying their pockets or taking off articles of clothing. In its initial marketing material, Evolve said it will create, quote, weapons-free zones. The co-vendor, Anil Chankara, now concedes Evolve sensors aren't foolproof. So there's deficits in the system.
There are limitations in our technology as there are with every technology. And if anybody says their technology has no limitations and is 100% effective, I wouldn't go near it.
A study commissioned by Evolve and conducted by the National Center for Spectator Sports Safety and Security found those limitations. The organization released a summary of the report, giving Evolve's Express system a score of 2.84 out of 3. But the full report obtained by PK found the system failed to detect 42% of the knives and a small number of guns. Security technology group IPVM says those numbers may be especially concerning for a place like Kennywood, which had a high-profile shooting incident last summer.
Did these guns go through the system? Was the system being operated correctly? You know, was the system even plugged in?
Is it okay that it doesn't pick up, say, 42% of the knives that go through the detectors?
It will continually get better, but it will never be perfect. And that's why security professionals use a combination and a set of layers of security.
Evolve says through software updates, the system is improving, but will always need additional security measures to ensure public safety. But IPVM says the company needs to be clear on what it can and cannot do.
I think that is the most important thing. The public should understand what it can and can't do, and then make the decision of whether or not they want to commit millions of dollars for this system.
Now, the pirates in Kennywood had no comment and referred all questions back to Evolve Technology. The Steelers did issue this statement, quote, our staff constantly reviews our security measures to make sure our buildings are as safe an environment as possible. Andy Sheehan, KDK News.
A few things to note here. First of all, the CEO of that firm is not a security practitioner. He's a technologist who makes bells and whistles. Big, big difference. Steelers have a huge security department. Huge. They hire some of the top national security firms, like Geico. I have a lot of friends working there, right? That go and assess security before major events. Money, a lot of money being spent. Okay, and still they have trouble. Okay, please reflect. How does your district scale? When the colleges like these are proposed, are you able to operate? Do you have a security perspective? Right? How would you use those? What would be the best fit for purpose? Use cases. Okay? And what would you do if the margin of error shows up? What does it mean? How do you communicate that? This is where I always tell clients, look, it's not about perfection, right? But it's about advanced communication. If you're able to articulate why you're doing it, that you are aware of all the challenges and how you're going to mitigate those challenges, fine. That's the right message. But I dare say that even the CEO of Evolve says security practitioners have to look after that equipment and also design additional measures. We have those? We have security practitioners also? Where are they? Any board members? Just check. Okay. Zero lights. It comes with a complete command center. No need for security. Okay? Somebody else might. Okay? And it's counted as AI. Take those two letters and throw them out the window. Nothing is AI. If you listen to the Center for Computing Technology, artificial intelligence is barely used with some of the top universities. With some of the top research firms. Okay? It's not publicly available. These are convenient sales words that are being used to sell stuff because it sounds interesting. It sounds futuristic. Okay? Behind all this is what's called video analytics. Video analytics has been in the market forever. I've been designing video analytics systems since 2006. Nothing new. It's just they took the concept. They said, okay, we can calibrate video surveillance pixelation so that I can search out a gun. Fine. Great solution. It comes with a monitoring station. So you imagine your alarm system at home, right? You set the code, you leave for work, the burglar gets in, alarm goes to a monitoring station. And they say, oh my God, we have police, they alert you, somebody responds. Okay. You get your alarm. The gun is detected. What's your plan? Now, I need you to tell me. What is your plan? Who's got the SOPs?
You want me to answer that?
Please.
Okay, every building has the SOPs, and in that situation, what would we do at that point? Are they detected outside at this point? Okay, so, well, Zero Eyes, they'll tell you where it is, but the, at that point, we would contact 911 and contact our SRO. And keep the doors locked so they can't get in.
Yeah.
And of course, put everybody in a shelter in place immediately. Forgot about that part.
How many times have you gone through this particular set of actions with those who are supposed to execute them?
2 times.
During what period?
During the same year.
During 1 year.
During 1 year.
Daniel Connor, how our brains work. After today's presentation, unless you review it one more time or multiple times in a short period of time, you'll only retain 10% of the information. That's how our brains work. Repetition, frequent repetition, is the mantra in security. Unfortunately, many security practitioners forget about that. They tell clients, train once a year or train once a month. What does that do? How does that build muscle memory? So the point is, a system like this can be usable. You just need to know the limitations, like with the wall, right? You need to know what kind of action plans you have in place so that you can respond to such incidents like that. Okay? And the scenarios will be different. One scenario could be outside of school, and by the way, David Beaver,
I guess you share that.
70% of school shootings happen where? Outside. And the SRO's typical stations where?
Right at the main desk.
Main desk.
However, sometimes they are walking through the building, so they could be at a different point in the building.
Thank you. Once again, me as a security practitioner, I would want to check all of that 55 times. If I do an assessment, I would want the security SRO to stand up, and I'm going to be testing them on every step. I want to walk with them. I'm going to say, where are you going? What are you doing? And if an instance like this occurs, tell me, what do you remember about your actions? Our job is to look for assumptions and gaps. So, this is not rocket science. Not at all. Any normal person with critical thinking can struggle through and power through the scenarios to understand what can and cannot work.
Can I ask a question specifically about Zero Eyes? I didn't know you were bringing it up. So with Zero Eyes, I mean, there are other, obviously, as you said, there's other people that are out there that are using the term AI and they're using things of that nature. For Zero Eyes specifically, if you were looking at an AI or a video analytics program, or if you had met with people like that, would this be one of those companies that you said, just like the metal detectors, you go with these 4? Would Zero Eyes be one of those, or are there a certain conglomerate out there that you would throw other options at?
All of these companies are brand new.
I know this one's fairly new,
Zero
yeah.
Eyes is brand new.
Yeah.
They don't yet have 10 years of stories to tell.
Correct.
Now, it doesn't mean the tech is wrong. It doesn't mean that there are problems with the tech. The problem is, are you sophisticated enough as a client to ask enough questions and to test it across multiple scenarios. And to also test yourself, not just the system, but how are you going to perform once the system starts giving you alerts.
Got it.
How does that work? And if you are not aligned, liability. I'm not going to go through this video in the interest of time, but this is a video of zero hours. So basically, it detects weapons through pixelation of video imaging, and then there's a command center that looks after and alerts the responsible personnel at the school facility.
Zero Eyes is a team of former Navy SEALs and military special operations veterans teamed up with elite technologists with the mission to save lives. We use your existing video cameras coupled with our artificial intelligence gun detection to prevent threats rather than react to them. There is no better purpose right now and no more difficult problem to solve than mass shootings. You go over the existing security cameras in the building, so on the interior and exterior, at entrances, exits, choke points, bottlenecks inside the hallways. So when a shooter walks up and they take out a weapon, Zero Eye systems pick that weapon up. And our military trained operations experts verify every detection before sending out alerts to local staff, security, and the local 911 center to get the alert to first responders. It takes about 3 seconds from the time a gun enters the frame of a camera to the time an alert is sent. So now they know what the shooter looks like, what type of weapon they have, who's armed subject to the Southwest Fault, how many there are, and what was their last known location. First responders on scene have access to this information before shots are fired. That will allow them to go directly to the shooter and prevent more violence from occurring. Drop the weapon now! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! So we can really decrease response times and save lives. So we want to stop threats at the first sight, not the first shot. Mass shootings are devastating. Current alternatives are reactive. We need a proactive solution that mitigates gun violence, provides actionable intelligence, reduces response time, ultimately saving lives, while at the same time respecting our privacy and rights. Zero Eyes is that solution. Save time, save lives.
The caveat they forgot to add to their very flash advertisement is use your verification. A lot of claims are made. Those claims are subject to testing. They don't require a security position to test it. Yes, it would be great, but a team like yours would definitely come up with different scenarios and look at past reports about different incidents, read the grievance statistics and case writing, and be much better informed before acquiring technology. Okay? This is what David Beaton says. About 70% move. Okay? Now, I'll have to rush through this because it's already 8:30. So, how much more time can you give?
Until you're done.
Very good, thank you. This is the menu of what I'm going to talk about. I'll try to be as concise for the wrong students. The caveat is, and very important, I am not conducting a security assessment for the world. I will do that. I'm simply presenting to you my experience, but I don't know anything about how the school works other than having arrived an hour early, having arrived and parked my car in the reserved spot in the parking lot, having buzzed in to the main door, having been engaged with a very polite SRO, is that what you're saying? Or a member of your staff.
Or a hall monitor.
Right, hold on. He was very kind.
That is very good, thank you.
Very good. One note. When I said that I present, that I'm at a board meeting, he said, I want to go check where you should be.
But he's for real.
That was in your lobby. I was in your lobby for a couple of minutes by myself.
Good job, Raymond.
So, the roadmap is as follows. A lot of clients that I work with fail to recognize that they already have stakeholders. So there has to be a security committee. By virtue of its designation, the security committee will be making decisions about security in the organization. Doesn't mean that they have to make a design, but it's going to be their key purpose. So once you organize the framework around how that security committee works, you create a charter and so on, and you get it on the proper schedule, you can engage with the right knowledgeable individuals to inform you about various security control measures that are of interest to you. Much the same way as I'm presenting you today. I'm sorry to say, but every school district that we're going to meet would need, it would be mandatory to have a senior security practitioner. Because it's very easy to make mistakes if you don't understand security. You have the right mindset, you have positive intent, but if you don't understand how security works, you'll be making mistakes. This is where a security committee that understands how the school works and then engaging with the security practitioner is the right model. Another thing that comes up, please don't be surprised, is the school psychologist. Why? Read chapter 4 of the O'Reilly report. I'm not joking. It's heartbreaking as it is eye-opening. The kid's been missed in the system. That didn't happen to make that mistake. Okay? So school psychologists are the first line of awareness and understanding and monitoring of how children's behaviors are evolving as they're progressing towards the risk age. And the risk age is not early years, primary school. We're going into middle school and high school. And I'll show you the graph that very clearly demonstrates. Okay? Student services and learning support, my lovely wife has years of experience in that section, right? And she engages with learning facilitators, with teachers, with school psychologists, and with adults to discuss how the child is progressing. Are they well socialized? God forbid they're not. God forbid, after the age of 4, this child is not well socialized. You don't have to look any further to see a tremendous red flag. So I, as a security practitioner, can tell you, zero eyes, metal detectors, video surveillance, it's not early enough. This is not important. Okay? 4 years old, socialization, and how they progress in their academic and social life. Grade level team meetings. I'm not sure whether your school is organized or not, but I suppose every grade would have somebody who takes the help to be the filter for that grade. Right? In our school, they were called team leaders. Okay? So those folks engage with school psychologists, with learning support, and so on, and they review the IEPs, and they are the ones who are monitoring how the child is progressing. Where are the risks? Behavioral risks. And of course, curriculum. To this day, U.S. education system does not have consistent education in ethics and socialization. How about that? To this day. We have all the science. America leads the world. Leads the world in child psychology, education. I mentioned to you, Carol Dweck, and many, many others. I mean, the Speech Pathology Association, ASHA, tremendous. Many members both in the States and outside. American Psychological Association. And how do those amazing resources inform theory? How do they bring child's social emotional development? How is that being facilitated, looked after, and cared for? The idea here is from threat management, from negative language, you would be moving to positive language, to early intervention. And early intervention is a very well-known term to any educator. My wife spent years working in New York's early intervention system. But I don't mean early intervention in terms of therapy. I mean early intervention at that point where you can start picking up lack of socialization. That's the early intervention that's also missing. Social emotional learning, ethics learning, active parenting is a system that I would train. And it teaches parents how not to lose their minds when their kids go back to them. I kid you not, I had a parent, she's a hedge fund man, makes millions of dollars, okay? But here we are sitting in a similar setting, right? And we're learning about these models, about these concepts of how to engage with your child who's misbehaving, who's got all sorts of triggers, right? His brain is on fire because that's how children's brains are evolving, right? And this mother who loves her kid, she sits there, she says, I expect my children to stand at salute when I come from work because I'm too damn tired and I don't want them to talk back to me. She's not the exception. Not the exception. No, I was that way when my first was born. My brain was on fire just as much as his was. Trying to figure out like how to look after him. He was running like 10 miles an hour. So whole community model that New Jersey suggests, right? This is something that I'm not giving you, I'm not revealing anything that you don't already know. It exists. It's not packaged properly. Early warning triggers of action. So before you start considering security, right? Because security is me standing 6 feet away from the magnetometer. And if I have a weapon, you're done. There is nowhere to run. Emotional trauma, incident, police response, what? There is no distance. And by then, I had already been incentivized to become a perpetrator. I've been missed by the system. So how do you look after the early warning trigger? What does that look like? And it's going to be different from district to district. Obviously, I know you do map testing, you do all sorts of other tests for kids. Some of them have social emotional markers and so on. Very good at academic markers, but sometimes school districts forget social and emotional behavior or development. How is that going? Right? And sometimes school districts, my kids used to go to a top school in Battery Park City for a bit, right? They were lucky they could get a psychologist one day a week to do assessment. Just because there were not enough practitioners available. So who's looking after that? So, remember how I said distance is a big thing in security? Because 6 feet is nothing to a perpetrator. You're done. Standing in front of the door, you're done. I can shoot up any sort of door. These types of doors, the wooden ones, any sort of lock is not a barrier to a gun. Not a barrier. Unless you can go doors and hardware are bulletproof, which yours are not. Okay? How did Sandy Hook happen? He shot the door hard. And then the glass shattered it, made its way into the school, and went on to kill. So, I, as a security practitioner, don't necessarily care as the first line of defense about the vertical side. I care about the previous side. How are you looking after kids? Where are you picking up the red flags and at what point? And are you moving together with them as they progress toward the risking? Middle school to high school. So from the facade to the edge of the school property. That's why I typically advise clients to have the SROs out and about and know how to learn behavioral profiling. They have to engage with kids, have a couple of chats, look at their behaviors. How are they presenting their social cues? It's called leakage security. Psychological leakage, behavioral leakage. Then from edge of the school property to the learner's homes. Uvalde was a failure not only of the school, it was a failure of parents. I forget what school, that was Colorado, but the two parents who got.
No, Michigan.
Michigan, right? Now, the message is clear. Very, very clear. It's not about schools only. It's about what you do as parents as well. And this, now that the precedent has been set, America loves precedent. In the court of law, everything is up to precedent. Okay? English system. So, sorry, it's not about giving your child to school and pointing the finger at the school and saying, you're responsible. Not true. It goes back to the home. The parent wasn't liking their guns properly. What's that about? Right? I don't mind you. You can own 55 weapons. I don't care. It's fine, as long as you're a responsible gun owner. You might yes. But if you don't know how to take care of them, and if you don't know how to use them, right? You're a risk factor. Following the 30-70 rule, simply through statistical analysis, we arrived that most incidents happen outside of the school. You don't even have an effect for my 30%. Is that my priority? It can be, I don't mind. As long as you can justify that if this shows up in court, and somebody says, wait a second, you spent millions of dollars on the implementing Evolve, you spent millions of dollars on putting in $9,000. What have you done about the outside of the building? If you're not able to articulate, you're in trouble. Lowering the trigger requirement. SROs trained and teacher trained are very consistent in the way that they understand behavior of children. Okay? It could be related to academics, it could be related to all sorts of social, emotional development, whatever. But they don't have that consistent training to understand that this child needs extra attention. We're not blaming them for anything, but they need help. And so it's not just the learning facilitators, but the SROs need training in that as well. Social media monitoring. You need that one?
No.
Thank you. Active parenting, like I said, to me, it was a revelation. American psychologists came up with this thing. And yet, this program is more known to international schools than it is known in the United States. Dr. Michael Baldwin, age-based risk escalation. There's a graph. Yes, thank you. That's your age risk. It starts escalating exponentially at 13, and it starts decreasing at 19. Not my word. Okay? 13 to 19 years old. Don't forget, 19-year-olds, they remember their school. Several shooters were already outside. They weren't sleeping. They didn't get what they found. Why? Because of some trauma, whatever it is that happened. Right? They want to cause vengeance, avenge themselves for the wrongs that they would know. Okay? So, that's your issue. Use it. That should be your justification to design your security plan and design your early warning, design your entire process from 5 to 12 to demonstrate to the next lawyer who's going to come into this room and ask questions that you have done your job from 5 to 12. And only then you can start talking to me about security technology, video surveillance, and everything else that I designed. Again, you have a copy of this presentation, so I apologize this is taking us a bit longer, but I'm not going to dwell on this, but please read for yourself. These are the policies for the Security Committee Charter, Early Intervention Framework, Security Program Management. The first three don't need to be written by Security Prevention. It can be written by Security Committee and national. Then the standards. None of my clients, none of the schools I deal with, have ever demonstrated to me that they have standards for deployment of operational, technological, and physical security. None. If I ask a question, well, okay, so what is your rationale? Did you put it on paper to written down somewhere? Why would you choose one brand, one type of technology over another? Great. They cannot articulate it. It's all momentary. It's all, well, the sales will be okay. That's not enough. Delivery of security-related training, like I said, is not a matter of annual stuff. It doesn't work annually. It doesn't work semi. It works by muscle memory. Therefore, it has to be school-wide community engagement. Okay? Those parents in Michigan are behind bars. Why? They're behind bars because they didn't do something right. And now we know that they didn't do it. So the whole community, like the New Jersey model states, is responsible. Okay? It's not fair to play in school. You do care, you do bear some responsibility, but not everything. Parents bear a lot of responsibility. So, ethics-based curriculum development. There's a program that's called PLATO, P-L-H, PLATO, that's developed at the University of Washington. Okay? Known much better outside of the United States and by some other universities than by school districts. And yet, these are the professors and scientists who have designed ethics learning facilitation into curriculum. They help do that. And it's available. And it's free. They do have the commercial courses for educators and so on. They cost $35,000. Yeah, okay. But they work with school districts. Trigger-based escalation, like I said. So a standard has to exist. I'll send you a link to Plato. We don't have a whole lot of time, sorry. Training for action. Okay? If you wake up tomorrow, you start thinking about my presentation, and some of the things you will say, nobody has ever said those things to me in the last 15 years. You have to reflect. Okay? And you start saying, I no longer believe that we have to go in the right direction. For some of the things we're doing right, and some of the things we need to change. Change management is a consulting term, right? Very hard. Very, very hard to change people's behavior, to change their mind, engage with different stakeholders, including the parent community, right? It's not an easy thing. Who's that training to change management? Show of hands. One. Early intervention, ethics-based curriculum, all of those things can align within how admin sees the school environment. Okay, that informs how the student services are organized, how the psychologists, what the remit of their job is, and how you look at the early years towards the risk group. What kind of triggers are you building in, and how are you dealing with it? And how are you dealing with the parent? We talked about scenario-based incident actions. Okay? You get 0 eyes. You need to change the way you will do things. It's not going to be the same once you implement that system. So how are you going to do that change? How are you going to facilitate? What is it going to do? And it's sent report. That's why I told the other school that they need to have a legal counsel present in any conversations before we do the security assessment. There's liability attached to it. Last but not least, Trauma is not leaving, unfortunately, very soon. Okay? And so, what are the focus? I've seen, unfortunately, learning facilitators completely broken down because of this. Or physically directly affected. Physical trauma, emotional trauma, what happened. Then you start thinking about okay? Might not have been physical. But what is the trauma in their brain? How are they going to cope going forward? And how is the school enabling them to cope? If terrorism, faculty, again, translating early intervention into the faculty operations. My wife, when she was hired as a consultant to one of the schools, they said our teachers don't know when to trigger a referral to the speech language pathologists. They don't know. They don't understand child's behavior in order to get SOP involved. That's simple. That's part of this whole operation. Okay? What do you do if we're talking about security in child? Avoiding these types of incidents and triggers of behavior. How is that being monitored? And I know that teachers wear many hats. These are the most, to me, probably some of the most tired people at the end of the work. Okay? Again, there are a lot of bars near our school where kids used to go. Okay? So, there's a reason. Very good reason. So all of those things you need to translate from that to faculty. But don't forget that parents also need the same type of engagement. It's not just about PTA doing fun things. I'm sorry, but that's not the age we live in. And everybody complains about how damaging social media is. Well, when was the last time your PTA did anything about social media monitoring? Anything? Ever? Are they engaged? Or are we just talking? These are the factors that SROs need to enhance in their activity. Nobody among SROs learned behavioral programming. I promise you. They don't understand that concept. They don't understand what leakage is. They don't understand body language. They don't understand nonverbal cues. They don't understand. And yet, we say SRO is responsible for security in our school. Yes, Zero Eyes video demonstrates SRO very seriously. He sees a message on the phone, they're dispatched to confront the intruder. Where were they when the kid, that same kid, 5 years ago, was walking around and being bullied? Where were they? Those were the times to prevent. Not when a shooter comes up with a gun. You don't think that if an incident doesn't occur, nobody gets shot, and they detain somebody with a gun. You don't think there's going to be emotional trauma? Once I, as a parent, know that there was an incident on school property, and there was a gun present at school, do you understand? I mean, I'm sure you, and you've thought about it multiple times, what ruckus is in. It might be new to you, but as our old, not only have we done this thing, yet we ask them to care. Forget teachers. I'm completely against any teacher being around. Why? It's not that, okay, so you have mobile phones, right? So how many features of your mobile phone do you know? Take a perfect browser, email, text messages, and then it gets dicey. Okay? You don't repeat that training. Now consider a person with a gun going to a range, getting recertified once a year. They know conduct. Our brains are not wired in an annual muscle memory. It doesn't work that way. So if an SRO does not get enough weapons, they're a threat to you. Because The incident involving SRO, there was, it's on YouTube, because you can look at it, walks into a classroom, and he's giving a short talk to a group of kids, probably middle schoolers, I was not sure. And all of a sudden, he's got discharged. It's in a holster, and it's discharged. Right? That incident alone could cause the school to shut down. Worse yet, there are different advocacy groups across the U.S. that if that incident is known to them, they will go, it's like ACLU, that they will go to fire over it, ask for an investigation. So it gets very complicated. Learners are bright spots. They don't have awareness of how to be authentic in this world. How about that? And yeah, they learn something. What's right and wrong, you know, kind of respect. So basically, our world is so much more complicated. So much more complicated. We struggle as adults with social media. We struggle with giving up our attention, being adults, to mobile devices, to the internet, to social media, to TikTok. Why is the government thinking about banning TikTok? It's not true. Somebody designed those algorithms very, very well, very easy. And so if we're adults to grasp that, how can we? And where is our creative housing? I mentioned active parenting probably 5 times already, I'm going to go on that. Trigger-based escalation, same thing. But the most important thing here is as much of prevention as you can use, as much as staying away from trouble, or staying out of trouble, if you do that, the better off the community is. Training for parents and guardians. This is, again, part of the entire roadmap. Okay? Then don't forget, there is also non-teaching school staff. Those folks, everybody has a janitor story. Right? Everybody has a janitor story. Oh, this person they inspired me, they did that, or I engaged with them multiple times, we were joking around. They're probably one of the friendliest people in the school. That might be your first person who notices something different about kids. When the teacher again, life notes, academic notes, education notes. And these folks might be your first line of defense, or one of these lines of defense. And they don't know whose attention to bring this to. And if they don't feel the need or the power to do it, you're missing out. I'll share active parenting things with you. This is too late in the moment. As I said, PTA's role, not enough. It's not enough. And it doesn't cover what American schools go through. So PTA needs to change. How do you change it? I'm not giving you anything easy. I understand. There's nothing I say here as far as this change is easy. Right? But like I said, if you believe what I said earlier about how the federal government and the state government can't really accommodate all of your security needs without your effort. Right? If you understand that, you need to put in an effort. So that means that you have to engage with parents. Then you have to change the way you do. Encouragement, socialization, focus on emotional well-being and life skills. I used to teach at the university level. Some of my students were young adults. Okay? And I mentioned that they have PowerPoint skills. Right? Just simple PowerPoint skills. They were like, whoa. I'm barely learning how to write an essay. You're asking me to do a presentation. And you're asking me not only to do PowerPoint slides, which I probably can manage. But you're asking me to competently and credibly present that information. Really? Very few of our learners have those types of life skills. And I notice more and more because I'm also hired. I look out for young talent, right? How very few of them today understand critical thinking, how they know how to do research. Okay? Those skills, yeah. I cannot give the statistics, but these are my skills. So we have work to do. And there is a lot to do with collaboration across law enforcement, Department of Education, American Psychological Association, you'd be surprised that if you were to repeat, how many people would raise their hands. Now, I'm sure you might have had experience that's not as pleasant. Maybe you tried it, let's say somebody said, well, we're not that, I get it. But I've come across folks that just they say, just tell me what to do. I'm here to help. Okay? Do we have a moment? Can you just spare a moment to listen in? Tristan Harris from the Center for Community Development.
I wish I had known those laws when I started my career, because if I did, I might have done something different. Because I was really out there, being like, hey, Google, hey, Twitter, use this technology, infinite scroll, I think it's better. So, first of all, when you invent a new technology, you uncover a new class of responsibility. Second of all, if the technology confers power, you're going to start a race. And then the third law, if you do not coordinate, that race will end in tragedy.
And so with social media, the power that was invented, infinite scroll, was a new kind of power. That's a new kind of technology. And that came with a new kind of responsibility, which is that basically hacking someone's dopamine system and their lack of stopping cues, that their mind doesn't wake up and say, do I still want to do this? Because you keep sort of putting your elbow in the door and saying, hey, there's one more thing for you, there's one more thing for you. So when you're hacking that, there's a new responsibility saying, well, we have a responsibility to protect people's sovereignty of their choice.
I would highly recommend that you download their tools for learning facility. They developed a few that you easily today, tomorrow, introduce into your curriculum. And also share with parents. Because I did, for many years of these guys have been in business, very few people actually outside of Washington know about them. That's the problem. A lot of people in tech know about them, but school districts, not so much. Okay, now, operational security controls. The more distance I create as a security practitioner, if I'm telling somebody to be look on the lookout for different types of behavior. If I'm standing right here, you're not. Okay? So the more distance I can create between me, the observer, the person who has sufficient training, and somebody who might exhibit some difficult triggers, the more time I have to assess and act properly. If I'm too close to them, they're too close to me, we're done. Very difficult to make decisions. Okay? NASA did a lot of research on this. Decisions under duress. Okay? There is no such thing as around high five. It's not true. What's true is Paris, round high five. Paris. I've seen CEOs shiver from an uncomfortable situation when they were the senior decision maker. Can't make decisions, please. It's physical and mental block. So the more I'm able to put my posts and my eyes and ears away from my building, outside of my physical building life, the better off I am. And by the way, like I said, it's the 70-30 rule. 70% of incidents happen outside. CISA, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, came up with an excellent pamphlet that now is being distributed across multiple security communities that talks about the power of the law. It's the reading with its mind to check for behavioral indicators from another person. You'll approach them, you'll engage with them, and then you see the kind of response you get. From that, you can discern, is this person friendly or not? Very simple, and it's free. Deployment of property circulation, heat map. You all know where most of the spaces in your school are occupied. You all know where the heat spots are, or hot spots, right? So why is your video surveillance distributed different? Or why is your security posture, security patrol distributed? Why are they distributed differently? Are they in line with those hot spots? They could be outside, they could be exterior to the building or interior, right? The more people, the more attractive the park. Frequent parent and safety reminders. No schools do it. I assure you. They don't talk parent communities about their guns. Right? Because there has to be a bridge. If you don't have that bridge, you're on your own, the parents are on your own, and if you don't have multiple speakers here said collaboration, there's lack of collaboration. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Planning for different events on and off site. This is what Daniel Regan writes about. It could be a sporting event, could be in your field, right? That's the altercation, but it's still considered to be a school shooting. You don't think the trauma is going to be different? That's it. This is everybody's going to be traumatized. Immediate de-escalation and reporting, right? So again, those should be the skills, critical skills for educators, for SROs and others. Right? Lessons learned in group. Now, I can't insist that the busy teacher community, faculty, would have to go through this, but SROs should. SROs should engage with school psychologists and learning support people and to see what's going on with the before risk age groups and at risk age groups. That's how heat mapping works. And these are the points about door hardware, latent reinforcement. This, right now, is simply for you to have a note of it. I don't expect you to remember it. You will get a copy of this presentation. You can review it before the meetings. Okay? But at 9 p.m., right, you can see that your brains are starting to move. When things happen tomorrow, I'm trying to keep up with it. So, these are very complicated. Very complicated. Okay? Don't try to buy it from somebody who says, I can offer it out of the box. It doesn't exist. Simple upgrades. You know how we configure the board? Right? This is called a big huge. It's a $10 upgrade that can reduce or eliminate the possibility of the board. This has existed for years. It's like it's been in the industry for like 60 years. And yet, again, it's something that unfortunately is not being included in the way the buildings are designed. Okay? We talked about early detection through video analytics. I mentioned that Zero-Eyes has a potential to help. But we need to understand the caveats, the limitations, and other things. Right? Have you looked into screen alarm? If there is an altercation like the one that they were discussing in the news, the two kids are fighting, you think there's screen alarm? Okay? That could become an easy alert over to somebody who needs to help. Okay? And again, screen alarms, nobody's on. It's not part of the lingo that the technology salespeople discuss. Without these cues, logical integration, graphical mappers, and visualizations, all of this is complicated terminology. I am making you go, it's by design. Because this stuff is very complicated. I don't expect you to remember it. Okay, but please understand, this is valuable to the work that I do. Okay, for me, I can look at it and say, momentarily, I already know what's going on. Okay, and I've spent the last hour and a half talking to you about concepts that are understandable. And this is going to be the weeds. I don't expect you to know it, but these things are super important. Incident management, right? Again, all of this I'll transfer to you so you can take a look, but most of it is aligned. Even police departments work with FEMA. And they've created a system that's been in existence for over 30 years for how to manage incidents. Not a single school district, as far as I know, implemented that system. Your school district and individual school buildings have both hazards and resources. So here's your police department. Very close to you. Yes? If I block both roads, the Egg Harbor Road and United States Avenue, are they going to be able to read? Maybe. You see what I mean? These things are simple. Nobody's thinking about it. Okay? And to conclude, I'm a big proponent of building long-lasting resilience. That is the concept that's very high level, but it entails everything it presents. Right? So when you do reflect on these things, please understand, nobody has the right to blame you for not having thought of those things, because nobody is thinking of those things. That's the gap. But corporates have spent billions of dollars on their debt, but not security. Oh, sorry, not school. Okay? So, I love this picture. I actually used it in one of my articles. I think, and I quote the article, are we failing the next generation? There are multiple reasons why that could be true. There are also multiple bright spots that I mentioned. Okay? But with our life's noise, with everything that we have to take care of, and even this meeting has to take place at 7 p.m., whereas the rest of your day already happened. Okay? I'm superbly grateful that you spent the time. Okay? I really appreciate that you do care about the community and your kids. And how to look after them, how to make your district better. Right? Don't wait till somebody comes and helps you. That's the bottom. You have to own this yourself. Thank you. Yes. I'm sorry for the delay. Sorry if I kept you longer than expected. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. No problem.
Actually, thank you very much. Very, very thought-provoking, certainly. Before we do anything else, I want to ask any board members if they have any questions.
Do we have any ability to communicate with you so that I'm not taking a bunch of questions?
I'm a consultant. I'm at your disposal. That's where you have all my contact information.
We had talked about that a little bit earlier, where we thought after this presentation, it might be a while to digest.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
basically kind of communicating this way.
Also, obviously, we have access to the presentation, and I would like to suggest that you send that to the board members, because it is a lot to digest in a short period of time. And as you said earlier on, we have every school district, ours in particular, is what we're interested in, have unique circumstances within our children, our families, our physical plan, all of those things that we have to take into account. And it is a lot to try to unwrap, which we now have that focus to do. But for this evening, does anyone have anything?
I've been to a lot of these security things. They're always held by people who work at companies. I've been to a lot of meetings about this, and they always have a speaker from a company. And they're always touting their stuff. And it's good to see something that says, hey, it doesn't work. This is much, I think this is much more useful than these people who come and sell their stuff at these meetings.
I would like to ask for a departure for the agenda, which goes in the opposite order. We have some people who sat up here. We have for the last couple of hours, not like to give them the opportunity to ask questions. So very quickly, can I have a motion to open the public?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Would any of you like to ask a question or address our speaker?
It was great information.
sorry, there is.
It's been nice having it for a few days.
What I tell you in the beginning, what I tell you, that's how it is, unfortunately. We needed to very tightly pack a lot of this information. I'm grateful that you were able to persevere through it. Some of it is, like I said, I don't expect you to remember every little detail. That's not required, even if you take notes. But this is recorded, so this will be at your disposal, I hope. And so you can reflect on that. But
I want to say, especially appreciate that we spent a lot of time with it, and, you know, that security is just about like locking it down.
yeah,
It's more about like actually developing a real system of code. So, yeah,
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I'd like to ask for a motion to close, please.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? I'd like to thank you again so much for coming here this evening and giving a very thought-provoking presentation for the board. As I said when you asked us to speak a little bit, I know it's not just me who ponders this on a regular basis, trying to keep our students and our staff and our community safe. And this provided a lot of things for us to think about. And it gives us a beginning. Not that we haven't already put some things in place, of course, but it gives us some other focuses we can look at. So I appreciate that. Thank you. And now, just to finish our business very quickly, you know, now our close of the meeting, can I please ask for a motion to close?
Motion.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. We are done.